We are joined by MP Michael Chong, Foreign Affairs Critic for the Conservative Party and MP of Wellington-Halton Hills. Welcome back to Forum Daily, sir.
Great to be here.
So what is your overall response to these sanctions by China, sir?
Well, my first response is that they will have little effect on me, as I've got no plans to travel to China in the foreseeable future. We are, of course, in the middle of a pandemic, and I have no business ties to China. That said, it's clearly an effort on part of the communist regime in Beijing to silence its critics abroad. But it won't work. We are, in fact, only going to be further emboldened to speak up about these gross violations of human rights because we know that it is effective. It's the whole reason why China is attempting to silence its critics abroad.
And in addition to supporting your resolve, what is the significance of the vote by the House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee?
Well, Canada became the first parliament in the world to recognize the Uyghur genocide. It's encouraged the recognition of the genocide by other democracies. The Netherlands recently adopted a motion recognizing the genocide. It's also spurred governments onto action. As you mentioned in the opening of your broadcast, a number of countries have now come together to place sanctions on 4 Chinese officials and 1 entity for these gross human rights violations. And so we need to continue to put pressure on China. We cannot allow them to flagrantly violate international law. And under international law, Canada has not just a responsibility, it has an obligation to prevent genocide and to punish the perpetrators of genocide.
And meanwhile, we know that Canada, as you mentioned, has sanctioned these 4 Chinese officials with the U.S., United Kingdom, and European Union. What do we know so far about these particular individuals?
These are senior Communist Party officials in Xinjiang province. They are responsible for carrying out the orders of Beijing in repressing the Uyghur people. They are responsible for the construction and oversight of hundreds of detention camps where millions of Uyghurs have been incarcerated. They're responsible for overseeing programs that have implemented mass sterilization of Uyghur women through forced abortions, insertions of IUD, and other mass control birth measures. As a result, Xinjiang's birth rate amongst Uyghur women has plummeted by more than 50%. And they are responsible for a coercive state-run scheme that is forcing the Uyghur people to pick cotton and produce tomatoes.
Now, sir, as journalists, we're always looking for facts, for the truth. So what kind of evidence or further evidence do we have on the persecution of Uyghurs in China's Xinjiang province?
That's a great and very important question. There are a number of sources now that have come to this conclusion. We have satellite evidence, high definition, high resolution satellite evidence now over many years that has documented the construction of these detention camps. We have photographic and videographic evidence that have been produced by reputable news organizations like the BBC World Service, like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, that have gone in there and snuck out video and photographic evidence. And we have a number of think tanks that have come to the same conclusion. We've got academics in the United States and Europe and the UK that have come to that conclusion. So the evidence has been accumulating ever since 2015 when the Chinese authorities in Beijing ordered this repression to begin. And now the evidence is clear and it is overwhelming that a genocide is taking place.
All right, sir, about 30 seconds left. But how can Canadians add their voices to this effort, sir?
Well, I think they should contact their local elected members of parliament and encourage them to put pressure on the Liberal government to ban the importation of cotton and tomatoes from Xinjiang province in China. There's evidence that the Uyghur people are being forced to pick this cotton and to produce these tomatoes. There are plenty of other sources for Canada to import tomatoes and cotton from around the world, from countries that are not abusing human rights. So that's an immediate step that we as Canadians, that the Canadian government should take in order to uphold human rights and prevent the continuation of this genocide.